we're ready to move on to kind of a new section over here in Tanya, where he's going to. We're up to perek test. You missed last week. Did you miss last time? You were last time. Okay.
You were like reviewing Zion or something. You were going to skip Zion.
Okay, we'll do a quick review now because he's about to get back to his original question. He started basically with this idea that he wants to define this Beinanim. What is Beinanim? And he had some questions based on Gemaras, which we're going to get back to. From there, he went off on a little bit of a tangent for about 7 prokim, discussing how people have broken up into 2 different types of nefashos. There's a nefesh Eloki and there's a nefesh Abahami. There's Jewish people. And he discussed the different levels, how the nefesh Eloki is directly from the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's Vayibach, Ba'apav Nishmas Chayim. That's the blowing, the breath of Hashem coming into Adam Rishon. That's where we touch it. It's a much more spiritual. It's made up of these 10 levels of that we go through during Sphira, starting with Chacham Bina V'das, and then the more physical ones that we always do Chesed, those things. Some of us mention every night during Sphira, and that's all part of this world of nefesh of the nefesh. Okay, that's what those 10 levels are what those 10 different midos are what your nefesh, your spiritual nefesh, is built from, and how that spiritual nefesh can create malbush for itself by these garments, by doing oisek and machshava, ma'isa, and dibur of Torah and mitzvahs. And how by learning Torah you're actually taking the seichel of Rebbeinu Shalom into your own seichel, and it's a moment of incredible closeness that you can't get in any other way. That was nefesh elokis. Then he went for a few prakim, and this is the last 3 prakim discussing nefesh habahami. That's in the dam. That's the physical drives of a person. How that in Klal Yisrael is built off of an energy source, what he called klipas noiga. Klipas noiga is something that is standing edged on the edge of a sword. It could go. It's balanced on, and it could go. It could be something that attaches itself to the nefesh elokis to the higher level. It could be something that attaches itself to the shalosh klipas atameos, depending on what you're doing with it. And how things that are usur, machalos asuras, relationships that are usur, those are completely cut off. Those are automatically the energy source behind those actions are automatically shalosh klipas atameos and are inaccessible in regards to kedusha. So that's how he built the person. Now he's gonna put it back together. V'hine. Nishkan nefesh abahanis shemeklipas noiga, the place, the resting place, the living place of the nefesh abahami that comes from klipas noiga b'chol Yisrael. That's a klipa. Klipa means it has a shell, but it's klipas noiga. It's the shell that could be accessed, that could be broken through. That's belev. It's in the heart. B'chalal smali. It's in the left ventricle, the left side of the heart. Shehu mole dam, that's filled with blood. Uksiv ki adam hu a nefesh. The dam is a nefesh. He said, then that's nefesh abahami. It finds itself in the heart on the left side. Ulechein kol ha'taivas al desire v'tifaras and tifaras are like pride. Things that you're prideful of. V'kas and anger, v'domeya. All those types of things hein belev. Those physical pursuits come from the heart. It comes from the heart and spreads from there throughout the entire body. It goes up and it goes up to your brain. It's what's giving your brain oxygen and going up to there and giving it energy. Lachshav, to think, and to use it to be smart. But in the pursuits that are the lave pursuits, it's going up into your brain and using it for those purposes. Just like physically, blood's makar, blood ki adam hu nefesh. Adam is a nefesh. Where does blood get its source? It's in the heart. And from the heart, it goes everywhere, and it goes up into your brain, and it's what's giving your brain. So just as physically, that's how it works. When it comes to the nefesh habahami, which is ki adam hu nefesh, it starts there and then goes from there. The Mokel Mishkan Nefesh Elokis, the place where the Nefesh Elokis resides, is in the Mumoichin Shabarosh, in the different parts of the brain and the head. Umishom Mispashet, he's going to say later that there's 3 different parts of the brain. It is actually divided into 3 different parts scientifically, but he's going to talk about that in terms of Chacham Bina V'das. So that's why he calls it Moichin, the brains of the head. Umishom, and from the brain it's Mispashet Chol Evar. So the central station, the home base of Nefesh Elokis is the brain of the person. The home base of Nefesh Abahami is the heart of the person. But he's not done yet. The Gam belev b'chal ha'yamini, but it's also in the heart, in the right side. She'ein bodan, that doesn't have blood in it. Now, physically, just in terms of how this represents, so physically, there is obviously blood in the right part of the heart. The right ventricle also is going to have blood in it. The difference is, I don't know if this is what he means, but the difference is that it's not oxygenated. What's the word? Oxidized? No, not oxidized. Oxygenated. Okay. I have to look it up, but it doesn't have, as it goes. What happens is it goes into, all your blood comes from the rest of your body, goes into the right part of the heart. It does not have oxygen in it. It gets pumped from there into your lungs. It's oxygenated. We'll say it goes back into the left part of your heart, and from there, the left part of your heart is powerful and pumps it out your aorta to the rest of your body, to the rest of your body. So it could be on a spiritual level. What that means is that it's just very, very fascinating that oxygen is what? Oxygen is is the breath, is the ruach of a person. That's the nefesh elokis. But when the dam goes through the lung, it gets that oxygen in it, and then comes back in. That's the nefesh habahami. That's when it has that element to it. It's like almost ironic. I don't know if it's, but it's too ironic to ignore that's where it's getting that from the left side. He's saying that's when it comes in with the oxygen, then it has the nefesh habahami, and then from there it gets pumped throughout the rest of the body and provides oxygen to your brain and to everything other.
Why would he say the part without blood? Like, why would he
call it without blood? Maybe it's not blood that's useful. Maybe that's what. But then, I don't know if this is what he means. I'm just saying, practically for us, it is very interesting that meaning, even if it's not fully correct, let's say it's incorrect, the statement that it doesn't have blood in it, but it is correct to a certain extent, that it doesn't have blood in it that's actually useful. The blood that comes back there, it's really just like a station that it comes back in the right side of the heart to then become oxygenated and go and can you look that up what that word is? Oxygenated. Okay, fine. You got it. Good. Confirmed. It gets oxygenated and then goes back. So I'm just saying, on some level, it makes sense. But yeah, the wording sounds like there is no dam in that part of the heart. But that's what he said, that the right part of the heart is where nefesh elokis is. The left part of the heart is the nefesh habahami, and the brain is the seat of nefesh elokis. Now, v'chein simcha. Okay. Hine ksiv. It says. It says that both these things, this is by Yaakov and Esav, they are pitted against each other. Ki aguf nikra ir katana. This is based on a mashal in Mishlei of Shlomo Melech of the small city that is trying to be conquered. That is a person. That is our life. That is our whole avoda. Just like you have two kings that are both trying to conquer a certain strategic city. Each one wants to conquer it and be moilech over it. Dahainu, what does it mean to be marlich over it? Lahanik, to be the manik, to be the one who's in charge of it. Yashveha, those who are living in it. Kiritzoyna, the way he sees best. V'shusarim mishmatu, that they should be all turned to listen to what he says. B'cholat shirigzleim, whatever he commands it. Kach shtei hanafashos elokis, both of the nafashos, elokis v'hachyunis, the nefesh eloki and the nefesh abahamis. Shemia klipa, that's from the klipa. They're constantly in a battle with each other. Who's in dominion over a person's body? Who is in control of his body? The chol evarv and all his evarim. Shelokis, the nefesh elokis chafetza utzarna, its desire and its will. Shtehi levad and Michelle's love. It should be in charge of the body, and it should be dictating the decisions a person makes in life and what they do with their lives. Manigaso, the chol evarim yusarim l'shmatu. He wants all the limbs of a person to be listening to what he says. Ubetelim etzla, to be bottled to him. Legami. Umerkava aleh, he should be on top of them. V'hu levush leser b'chinoseh. All the evarim of the body should become garments for the 10 midas. The gimel levusheha, and the 3 levushim of those 10 midas. Machshav v'dibur ma'asav Torah. She'el shlabshu kulam devar aguf. The evar aguf should all be garments for those things. V'yaguf kulam molim, a person's entire body should be infused with the nefesh elokis. V'lo yaver zar b'soichem. No foreign army should ever step foot into his domain. Dahainu, just a little more on this. Tlos moichin shabaroish, the 3 moichin, the 3 brains in the head. Yumumole mechabad should be full of the chabad of chochma bina das of the nefesh elokis. that is Chochmas Hashem, Ubinasoy, an understanding of Hashem's desires and Hashem's worldliness. Boinin begadluso, to understand the godless of Hashem, Asher in Cheker v'Insoif, that has no limits and no end. And to take those two midos, chachma, the chachma is the curiosity of a person to understand, and the bina is the understanding, is taking that curiosity and that knowledge and understanding with it. That comes together in a das, in the midah of das, das, and that creates yira b'moichu pachad Hashem b'libo, and the fear of Hashem in his heart, v'avas Hashem, and avas Hashem, that ke'esh ba'eres b'libo, like a fire in his heart. It's interesting the way he looks at it. He was going to talk about this soon, that ahava, he mentions, love is a function of the moyach, it's a function of the brain. It's really a cognitive experience, love. And he describes it as like water, that love is. But what happens is you take that experience, and when it sinks back into the lave, into the heart, then it becomes passionate and it becomes fiery. And the lave is more of a fiery and passionate experience. The brain is meant to be a much more calm and thought out experience, depending on who's in charge and who's dictating things. But that's how things should go naturally. Avas Hashem comes from the moyach, but gets lit on fire when it goes into the heart. Second, special habits. And this, so he says, this ava should be so strong. The gam kolsa nafsho b'chashecha v'chapetza, his nefesh should just desire to be misdavik boy be'ein soif baruch hu in the endless Rebbeinu Shalom b'chol lev nefesh, with his whole heart, his whole nefesh. Me'umgad from the depths of his heart, shebechal himini, that's from the right side. Shehiyeh toicha rotz of ava, it should be just full of the ava that came down. Mole v'godesh, it should be so full. Ad shetispasha gam l'chol hashmoli. That's the avoid of a person, is to try to take the power of the moyach, the nefesh elokis that resides in the moyach, have that extend downward through his understanding in the Gadol Rebbeinu Shalom, extend downward into the lave and find its way into there, and through that control the left part of the heart as well, which is the nefesh habahami. But this is the struggle that he's setting up. We'll continue from here next time. But this is the struggle that he's setting up between the left and the right, and how a person is constantly oscillating between these two things, the nefesh elokis and the nefesh habahamis, that are constantly fighting with each other.
Should I just be like, he's in?